This presentation begins with the first topic we work on during the course, the importance of the English language in today's world. English has become a global language that allows peoples from different countries and cultures to communicate effectively. According to Reddy, communication is essential for the human interaction. In a globalized world, English works as a lingua franca, helping people understand each other beyond borders. Today, English is not only spoken as a first language in countries such as the United States and United Kingdom, but it's also used as a second language by millions of people worldwide. It has an official or special status in more than 70 countries, which show its strong international presence. English is the dominant business language and employment. English is also essential in the professional and working world. According to Reddy, English is widely used in international business, multinational companies, and global markets. Many employers require English skills because it allows communication across borders and improves jobs performance. People who speak English often have better job opportunities, higher salaries, and access to international careers. Professions such as aviation, tourism, media, technology, and diplomacy depends heavily on English for daily communication. The language of Internet and information. English is considered the main language of the Internet and information technology. A large percentage of online content is produced in English, including the websites, research articles, digital platforms, and technological resources. Because of this, people who understand English have greater access to global information. Without English, access to knowledge is limited. Such much of the world's scientific, technological, and academic information is shared in this language. Therefore, English plays a key role in accessing information in today's digital world. Access to knowledge and education. English is essential for education and academic development. Most books, research papers, and higher education material are written or translated into English. English is also the main language of universities, scientific research, and international programs. Learning English allows students to continue their education, understand global knowledge, and participate in academic and professional environments. For this reason, English is considered a tool for learning and intercultural growth. Travel and entertainment. English is also very important for travel and entertainment. English helps people communicate when traveling, ask for directions, understand services, and interact with people from different countries. In addition, much of the world's media and entertainment, such as movies, music, books, televisions, and digital content, is produced in English. Knowing English allows people to enjoy global culture, understand international media, and connect with others more easily. For this reason, understanding the importance of English was the starting point of our course and the foundation for the projects and activities we developed throughout the program. During the stage 1 in our ESL program design project, we focus on design the basic structure and educational program based on the instructional design principle and responding to the specific needs of a target group of learners. We will first explain how we work as a team and then briefly explain each individual proposal and finally describe how we reach our final decision. Team process. To complete stage 1, each member works individually on an ESL program proposal. We first share our ideas by writing a proposal in a Word document, which allowed us to clearly organize our thoughts and review each other's works in detail. After that, we held a Zoom meeting where we discussed the strengths, limitations, and feasibility of each proposal. The collaborative process helped us reflect critically on instructional design choices, such as learner age, CEFR level, teaching strategies, content focus, and overall course structure. Analyst proposal. I proposed an ESL program at the A2 level according to the Common European Framework of Reference. The target group consists of 12-year-old middle school students at Instituto Nova Era, a bilingual and bicultural school in Silao, Guanajuato. The program focused on general English, with an emphasis on future tense forms such as will and going to. The main thematic unit was Professions of the Future, integrating language learning with the real world content. The proposals rely heavily on project based learning, collaborative work, gamification, guided self learning, and education technology. The final product was an oral group presentation allowing students to use English meaningfully and develop autonomy and confidence. Deborah's proposal. Deborah proposed an ESL program designed for pre-beginners learners at the A1 level according to the Common European Framework of Reference. Her target group consists of 5 years old preschool students learning English in a live classroom setting. The program focused on a receptive and oral skills, using play-based and task-based learning strategies. Due to the students' development stage, reading and writing were very limited, and instructions emphasize phonological awareness, vocabulary repetition, listening activities, and guided interaction. The content was based on the Toy Team 3 textbook from Oxford, with authentic units such as the animals and food. This proposal highlighted the importance of age-appropriate methodologies and meaningful learning throughout play. Eduardo proposals. Eduardo designed an ESL program for A1 level learners, specifically children between 7 to 12 years old. His proposal focused on general English and covered everyday topics such as greetings, family, daily routines, food, numbers, and classroom language. The program was planned as face-to-face instruction, supported by digital resources like video and songs to create a blended learning experience. Eduardo Select New Headway Beginners by Oxford University Press as the main textbooks and structured the course over 3 weeks with 9 one-hour sessions. Teaching strategies was based on communication approach, including pair work, group activities, role play, and simple dialogues that promote active language use. The final ESL program was defined with the following characteristics. The course level is A1 according to the Common European Framework of Reference, designed for 6 to 8 middle school students, age 12 to 13 at Instituto Nova Era. Classes are conducted live, focusing on general English and everyday communication. The program lasts 3 weeks, with 9 sessions of 1 hour each. Teaching strategies include project-based learning, collaborative work, gamification, guided self-learning, and blended learning through digital resources. The program does not require textbooks and prioritizes meaningful interaction, motivation, and active students' participation. In conclusion, Stage 1 allows us to apply instructional design principles while practicing collaboration, critical thinking, and decision making as a team. By integrating a structure, communicative strategies, and innovative methodologies, we design an ESL program that responds effectively to learning's needs. This experience strengthens our understanding of program design and highlights the importance of teamwork in educational contexts. After carefully reviewing and discussing the 3 proposals, the team decided that combining elements from Eduardo's and Annalie's proposal would result in the most feasible and balanced ESL program. While Deborah's proposal was highly valuable, it focused on a very young age group which presented limitations for meeting the project's requirements, especially regarding the structured lesson plan and language production. Eduardo's proposal provided strong structure and clarity for A1 learners, while Annalie's proposal contributed innovating strategies such as project-based learning and collaborative tasks. Linguistic competences. In order to design meaningful objectives, we first analyze the student's linguistic competence at the A1 first level, following the CEFR descriptors. In terms of vocabulary and structure, learners possess a basic repertoire of everyday words and are able to produce simple one-clause sentence, all through with limited accuracy. Regarding grammar and fluency, students show growing control of basic sentence patterns and can produce short, rehearsed utterances, often with pauses. Concerning production and phonology, students' speech is generally understandable, but it's not strongly influenced by their first language, especially in stress and intonation patterns. Finally, at the pragmatic and social linguistic level, learners can use basic polite expressions such as gathering and instructions and connect ideas using simple words like and then. Pedagogical purposes and methodology. Based on the linguistic analysis, we established several pedagogical purposes aligned with the A1 level. The main pedagogical focus is the development of basic vocabulary related to professions of the future, as well as a simple sentence pattern such as I want to be. From a methodological perspective, the course is grounded in project-based learning, combined with gamified and collaborative activities that encourage active participation. To support skills development, students practice oral fluency through very short group presentations, develop orthographic control through copying and guided writing tasks, and receive constant teacher scaffolding to ensure intelligibility and confidence when using English. In stage 2 of the project, our main objective was to design clear and effective general and specific objectives for our ESL program, based on the theoretical foundation of instructional design at the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. Our program is designed for an A1 level learners. We are considered beginners users of English. At this level, students are expected to develop the four core languages skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. By the end of the course, learners should be able to use simple everyday expressions, understand slow and clear spoken English, and communicate in familiar situations with teacher support.
Hello everyone. Now I'm going to present the next part of our project, the stage 3, which includes 3 lesson plans: syntax, morphology, and phonology. I'll start with the first lesson plan, which focuses on syntax. In this session, the main goal is for our students to use basic sentence structures to talk about themselves. So they learn simple expressions like my name is, I am, and I like, while also practicing correct capitalization and punctuation. The content is centered around an everything about me topic, where students share personal information using simple sentences. In terms of activities, the lesson begins with a ball game, where students introduce themselves in a dynamic and interactive way. Then they move into a writing activity, where they complete guided sentences about themselves. After that, there's a video and adjective activity, where students learn how to describe themselves using adjectives like happy or tall, and add all of that information to the writing as well. Finally, they do a pair interview and a closing game called Guess Who, which helps them practice speaking and asking questions. Throughout the lesson, the teacher evaluates students mainly through observation and the final written work. Now we have the second lesson plan, which focuses on morphology. This lesson is about helping students understand how words change form, especially by using the plural s. The objective is for students to recognize the difference between singular and plural nouns and use them correctly in both speaking and writing. The lesson starts with a warm-up activity called One or Many, where students look at objects or images and identify whether they are singular or plural. Then, during the development stage, students participate in a word builder race where they compete to correctly form plural nouns by adding the S. This makes the activity more engaging and interactive. After that, they also do a speaking activity in pairs where they transform sentences from singular to plural, like changing I have one book to I have two books. At the end, students complete a writing activity where they create their own sentences using plural nouns. Again, evaluation is continuous by the main evidence comes from their written sentences at the end. Finally, the third lesson plan focuses on phonology. This lesson is about pronunciation, especially helping students recognize and produce 3 English sounds that don't exist in Spanish. The lesson begins with a bell ringer activity where students think about words that are difficult to pronounce. Then the teacher introduces the concept of phonology and presents the target sounds using videos and visual explanations as well, focusing on how the mouth, the tongue, and the lips move. After that, students practice through different activities like a repeat after me game, mirror practice to observe their pronunciation, and pair work where they correct each other. They also use a digital tool to listen to native pronunciation, which adds a technological component to the lesson. To close the lesson, students complete a worksheet and a self-assessment where they reflect on which sound was the most difficult for them. Evaluation is based on pronunciation during the class, the worksheet, and their self-reflection. So overall, these 3 lesson plans show a progression from sentence structure to word formation to pronunciation, combining interactive activities, collaboration, and different types of resources to support language learning. Now, I'm going to present our infographic about students' motivation during the learning process. I'll start with the different types of motivation, since that's the foundation of everything else here. First, we have a intrinsic motivation, which comes from within the learner, meaning students are motivated because they generally enjoy learning. For example, a student might like speaking English because they are simply interested or for the fun for them. Then we have extrinsic motivation, which is the opposite. This type comes from external factors like grades, rewards, exams, or even expectations from parents. So in this case, students are learning because of a specific outcome, like passing a test or getting a better job. Next is integrative motivation. This happens when students want to connect with a culture or communicate with the native speakers. It's more about personal connection and interest in the community of that language. And finally, we have the instrumental motivation, which is more practical. Students are motivated by goals like academic success, career opportunities, or certifications. This type is very common in formal education. So, understanding these types helps us see that students can be motivated in different ways, and often it can even be a combination of all of them. Now, why does motivation matter? Motivation plays a very important role because it influences how students behave in the learning process. When students are motivated, they tend to pay more attention in class, use their own learning strategies, and stay focused even when the tasks become difficult. So when they are They are also more likely to set long-term goals and develop a positive attitude towards learning. So motivation is not just about interest, it really shapes how students engage with their learning. This connects to the next session, which is the impact of motivation on behavior. Motivation increases engagement and effort, meaning students participate more actively in class. It also improves persistence and resilience, which helps them continue even when they face challenges. In addition, motivated students tend to use better learning strategies and make smarter choices about how they learn. All of this contributes to better learning outcomes and overall success. We also see that highly motivated students often go beyond the classroom. They use extra resources and practice on their own, which makes their learning more effective. Now let's look at the key factors that boost motivation. Here, teachers and the learning environment play a crucial role. For example, providing meaningful and interesting tasks can make a big difference. It's also important to connect activities to students' personal interests, give clear goals, and provide useful feedback so students know how to improve. Another key factor is creating a supportive and engaging classroom environment where students feel comfortable participating, and instead of seeing challenges as problems, both teachers and students should see them as opportunities to learn and improve. Finally, we have some practical insights for educators and students. For educators, it is important to combine both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation and to design activities that connect them to real-life situations. Using interactive strategies based on students' interest can also make learning more engaging. For students, they should try to identify their personal reasons for learning because that can increase their motivation. It also helps them to set small, achievable goals and reflect on their personal process over all the time they're learning. So overall, this infographic shows that motivation is a key element in learning, and understanding how it works can help both teachers and students create a more effective and meaningful learning experience. And now I'm going to present the stage 4 and final set of lesson plans, which focuses on social-linguistic competence, pragmatics, and a session based on All Nations 4 Strands framework. I'll start with the first lesson plan, which focuses on social-linguistic competence. This lesson plan helps students understand how language works differently depending on the context, especially focusing on word order in English, like placing adjectives before nouns. The lesson begins with a very engaging activity using a mysterious bag where students take out objects and describe them. This creates a curiosity and encourages spontaneous speaking. Then the teacher introduces incorrect phrases like the ball red to help students notice the difference between Spanish and English structure. This is important because it builds awareness of how language changes across cultures. During the development stage, students act like language detectives, identifying correct and incorrect phrases, which makes the learning process more interactive. They also watch a video and complete a writing activity where they describe objects using adjectives. Later, they work in pairs to create their own descriptions. Finally, the lesson closes with a team competition where students translate phrases from Spanish to English with correct word order. Overall, this lesson is relevant because it not only teaches grammar, but also helps students understand how language use is connected to the context and meaning. Next, we have the second lesson plan, which focuses on pragmatics. This lesson is about politeness in communication, especially in classroom situations. It starts with a simple but effective activity called polite or not, where the teacher compares sentences like "give me your pencil" and "can I borrow your pencil, please?" This helps students immediately see the importance of tone and politeness. Then, in the development stage, students practice using expressions like "can I" and "may I" through guided repetition and flashcards. After that, they move into a pair work with role plays where they act out real classroom situations, such as arriving late or asking for help. This makes the lesson very practical and meaningful. To close, students complete an exit ticket, choosing the correct polite responses and explaining why they are appropriate. This lesson is especially relevant because it teaches students that communication is not only about grammar, but also about being appropriate and respectful in different situations. Finally, the third lesson plan is based on Paul's Nation's 4 Strands framework, which focuses on balancing different aspects of language learning. This lesson integrates the 4 strands, meaning focused input, meaning focused output, language focused learning, and fluency development, while also developing the 4 skills: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. The lesson begins with a warm-up using digital flashcards, where students identify daily routines. This activates prior knowledge and introduces key vocabulary. Then students move into a reading activity where they read a short text about daily routines, followed by a reconstruction task that helps them notice grammar patterns. Next, they complete a listening activity where they organize actions based on what they hear, which strengthens comprehension. After that, students participate in a role play, asking and answering questions about their daily routines. This stage focuses on fluency and communication. Finally, they complete a writing task describing a school day as an exit ticket. This lesson is very important because it creates a balance between input and output, accuracy and fluency, allowing students to develop their language skills in a more complete and meaningful way. So overall, these 3 lesson plans highlight how language learning goes beyond grammar, incorporating context and communication, and balanced skill development to create a more effective learning experience.
Well, finally, we're going to talk about the video that we made, which is called Factors That Influence Second Language Acquisition. So I'm going to play it for you to see it.
Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about some key factors that influence second language acquisition. Second language acquisition is the process of learning a language after a first language. It's not just about grammar or vocabulary, it involves cognitive, social, and emotional factors that affect how we learn. One essential factor is input. Input is the language the learners hear or read. For learning to happen, this input must be meaningful, understandable, and according to Gratian, slightly above the learner's level. However, input alone is not enough. Learners also need output. Output means speaking or writing in the target language. When learners produce language, they test what they know and improve through practice. According to Brown, learners also need to develop communicative competence, not just knowing grammar, but knowing how to use language appropriately in real situations. Finally, motivation and emotional factors play a major role. Students who are motivated participate more and persist longer. Personality and emotions such as confidence or anxiety can either support or limit language learning.
Second language acquisition follows a process similar to the first language development. Understanding this stage allows teachers to teach both the content and the academic language needed to move students to the next level. Stage 1, pre-production. There is visual and auditory comprehension, but not verbal production yet. Stage 2, early production. The student begins to communicate using single words or isolated terms. Stage 3, speech emergence. Complete sentences form, although it's normal for grammatical errors to appear. Stage 4, intermediate. The student is able to connect and organize multiple sentences coherently. Stage 5, Advanced fluency. The level of communication is comparable to that of native speaker of the language.
To finish, I want to talk about how these theories about the second language learning have changed over time. SLL research has gone through many changes. My classmates already described their main features, but I'd like to end this video with a simpler explanation of how and when these ideas developed. Behaviorism saw language learning as the formation of habits through stimulus and response. Chomsky disagreed, pointing out that the mind plays a creative role in language. In the 1970s, the idea of interlanguage showed the learners create their own changing language systems. Studies of acquisition found that people learn first and second language in similar ways, but the order and speed can be different. In the 1980s, SLL became its own field, shaped by cognitive psychology. Krashen's model from this time separated subconscious language learning from conscious study and talked about the need of understandable input. In the 1990s, the field grew to include ideas like identity, agency, and social context. This gave a more detailed look at the bilingual communication and the development of interlanguage. That will be it. These are our references. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. Well, after that, we made a mind map about the difference of the first language with the second language acquisition. So, second language acquisition, SLA developed from research and first language acquisition in the 1960s, borrowing many of its theories and methods. Both first language and second language learning share similar theories, such as following development sequences and relying on internal cognitive processes, with learners gradually building their language ability. However, there are some differences. Second language learners already have a first language, are older, and learn in varied contexts like classrooms or social environments, while first language learning is natural and universal. In second language learning, errors are part of the evolving system called interlanguage, not simply mistakes. Different theories explain that language learning included Damascelo's social understanding, Halliday's interaction-based approach, and Chomsky's idea of innate language structures, and second language do not need to relearn basic cognitive abilities. Research methods also differ. A second language is often compared to native speakers, which can be problematic. While first language acquisition is always successful, second language success varies depending on the factors like motivation and environment. Importantly, second language learners should not be seen as deficient since they have multi-competence, meaning knowledge of more than one language. Overall, first language and second language acquisition are related but fundamentally different, and SLA should be studied on its own field, focusing on what learners can do rather than what they lack. Also, we made a timeline from the book Techniques and Principles in Language Teaching by Diane Larsen Freeman and Martin Anderson. We made a timeline describing different language methods. I'm gonna read a little bit about it. Grammar transition methods focuses on reading, writing, and learning grammar rules through transition, like emphasis on speaking. The direct method promotes learning through direct use of the target language, focusing on speaking, listening, and real-life communication without translation. And the audiolingual method uses repetition, drills, and memorization to build correct language habits, especially in speaking and listening. On the cognitive approach, emphasizes understanding language rules and using thinking process to learn meaningfully. On the silent way, encourages students' independence. Learners discover rules while the teacher speaks very little. In the community language learning, CLL focuses on collaboration, emotions, and trusts. Teacher acts as a counselor. On the total physical response, TPR, uses physical movement and commands to support comprehension before speaking. In the Gestopedia, creates a relaxed, positive environment, music, art to reduce anxiety and enhance learning. In the community language teaching, CLT prioritizes real-life communication, interaction, and fluency over accuracy. And finally, in the task-based language teaching, TVLT, learners use language to complete meaningful tasks and solve real-world problems. That will be it from us. These are our references. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.